November regular meeting of yes it is November.
November 7th.
It's November still.
17th.
Yeah, 17th, thank you, Deb. And I'm the chairman of the zoning commission, Bruce Elliott, and with my colleagues, we have a busy night tonight. We have two public hearings, which is not a common thing for us, but for anyone who hasn't been here before for a meeting or for a public hearing, that's a time when the audience is invited to participate with sharing thoughts, and we'll get to it shortly. But for now, then, we'll just get on with the business, and it's 7 o'clock exactly. Looks like to me. All
So,
right.
Mr. Chairman, before we get started, I'd like to make a motion that we move the agenda item special presentations to the end of the agenda this evening before adjournment.
Tony made a motion that we move the item that's listed as special presentations to the end rather than in the middle of the meeting as it's presented.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second to move this agenda item towards the end. Is there any further discussion? Then all in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. And it passes.
Mr. Chairman,
unanimously.
if you don't mind, if I just because we've got a lot in the public here today. The special presentation line item probably should have been special recognition.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Thank you
that's
for the
about. So there's
clarification.
there's nothing secretive about the presentation. Recognizing members of the zoning commission.
All right, then on we go. To seating of alternates. I think everybody's here, right?
Yes.
All right, so there's no alternate seating needed. Then approval of the minutes of our meeting of October 20th. I hope everyone had an opportunity to read them, as I did. I didn't find any additions or corrections to offer, so if anybody else wants to jump in here with comments, corrections, whatever.
I believe on line 185, I think McLean is spelled incorrectly. See
Say that number again, sir.
185.
Got it.
Oh, yeah.
Little C big L, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So that was an item on line 185. Anything else? Okay. Hearing no more suggestions as to alterations, corrections, whatever. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes with that one change?
So moved.
And a second, please?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the October 20th minutes with the, as they were submitted with the one change on line 185. Any further comments on it? All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. The minutes are accepted unanimously with that one change. All right. On to our topic of commission business. We're starting with an application 2528. It has to do with Simsbury Square Enterprises. Tony, would you read the
Sure.
call?
Application ZC number 25-28 of Simsbury Square Enterprises applicant for a text amendment to section 4.5 of the Simsbury zoning regulations to allow the conversion of structures to residential uses and/or new residential construction via special exceptions review or by right in B1, B2, B3 zones.
Thank you. George, were you gonna speak to this one to start with? or
Yeah,
do
I
you
will.
wanna get
And
the
again, you
applicant
do
up
have
here?
an applicant here, so.
Okay.
Sure, so let me just frame the issue. So ZC 2528 is a text amendment on behalf of Simsbury Square and the applicant and the principal. So typically you see text amendment applications, usually from either you guys directed by the zoning commission or by staff. And it's also true that petition can be filed by a private citizen for a text amendment, so that's why we're here. So it is a text amendment to allow the conversion of existing buildings to residential uses in business zones. Though it's advertised a little bit more broadly, once it went to the planning commission, the planning commission recommended a little bit tighter approach, and so I'll get to that in a second. So the applicant has petitioned to amend the zoning regulations to allow the conversion of existing buildings for residential uses in all of the B zones, B1, B2, and B3. So there is language that exists today in your zoning regulations in the I1 and I2 zones that say exactly the same thing that is recommended tonight. And that is to say, by special exception, which means by special exception application and a required public hearing, the property owner may convert an existing building in those districts to a residential use. Simsbury Square does have a specific example, and that follows, but should be taken up when the text amendment is approved. Although I would certainly recommend you continue and have that public hearing tonight for the special exception. So, and we can kind of get to that. So the planning commission has a large responsibility on this. It is a separate body under state statute. They are required to review an application like this and provide a recommendation to this body. The planning commission reviewed the application on 10/28 and provided a recommendation, a positive recommendation on this specific language. So they found that the request was supported by the housing policies of your POCD, and the commission recommended specifically. So what we did was, this is exactly how, if approved, this would be inserted into your zoning regulations. So conversion of existing buildings for residential uses. We talked about a number of alternatives, and the alternatives are actually talked about in the staff report. If you wanted to be wider, you could consider allowing new residential construction in the districts without an existing building, or other options. But the planning commission is recommending only by special exception that a conversion of existing building in a B district can be used for residential uses. So that's the language. So you do have, so the planning commission relied on your POCD policies. That's the point. Anytime we do a text amendment, we must find, frankly, that it's consistent with our POCD policies. And they cited support for housing choices in our housing opportunity areas, encouraging a sustainable development practice. That's why they were focused on the reuse of existing structures. Seek ways to meet the diverse housing needs of residents. And then we would add that the Simsbury Housing Committee of the Board of Selectmen also made a recommendation during they didn't review this application in particular, but their more broad review of housing made a recommendation to support the conversion of vacant commercial structures. You're probably going to ask about this, so I'm gonna mention it anyway. So in the last couple of days, the state senate and the state house has approved a kind of extraordinary housing bill, and it's called HB H002. It is being transmitted to the governor's office, we understand. It is not signed by the governor yet, although I think we would expect that. He has indicated he will sign it in the next week or so. And it's important for this it's a 104-page housing bill that deals with a whole host of issues. It's not just zoning stuff. It's statewide and regional housing plans. There is first-time home buyer tax language in there. There's all kinds of stuff. But as it relates to local zoning, there is a section on the conversion of commercial land, and I want to make sure that we understand that that is coming. What the language says is that all zoning regulations shall allow, not may allow, not could allow, but shall allow, that means must, for the development of middle housing, and I'll talk about that in a second, development of middle housing on any lot zoned commercial. subject to summary review. And the definition of summary review in the language is that it's got to meet the underlying bulk standards, so setbacks and impervious surface and those kinds of things. So if they do that, it's essentially a by right use. Middle housing is, by definition, housing units from housing developments of 2 to 9 units. Anything above that has to be expressed in zoning and permitted, like we would permit anything else, a rezoning application or anything like that. So, let me say it one more time. So effective July 1st, if the governor signs the bill, and we accept him to sign the bill, all parcels in commercial zones would be permitted to have 2 to 9 units by right with no public hearing, so long as it passes the summary review of meeting essentially the underlying zoning requirements. Now, it doesn't necessarily apply to this particular application. You've got this text amendment is to allow the conversion of residential uses in B zones in existing buildings by special exception. The follow-on is a special exception for this, for a specific piece of property. I would expect that during your full comprehensive update that we'll do in the next 12 to 18 months, we will need to insert and include any of those zoning related items from House Bill 8002 into our zoning regulations. So I think with that, you might want to hear from the applicant. That's probably a little bit too much talking for me. It's the applicant who filed the petition. I'd let Mr. Christensen speak.
Mr. Christensen. Yeah, let me just say one thing first. I'm not sure that everybody's familiar with the POCD label. Refers to our plan of conservation and development. Every town in Connecticut has to have a plan of conservation and development. And we've tried to move more in the direction the last few years to the direction that's provided in the plan of conservation development. And so you'll hear more about the POCD, but it's really developed on a regular, repeating basis by the planning commission. So anyway, there you go. Yeah, I know you don't want to talk about the POCD, but sorry for the interruption.
My name's Nord Christensen. I'm part owner and manager of Simsbury Square. Some of you are probably aware 548 Hot Meadow Street was an Edson Bigford house. It was owned by the widow of somebody who worked at EB. We purchased it from her about 30 years ago, converted it from residential to an office. It has been an office for roughly the last 30 years, same office. It was Sage Financial. The principal of Sage Financial passed away about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago. Company has since shut down or been bought out by somebody else and moved to Avon. I've been trying to re-rent that as office space for the last 1.5 years, knowing that this was coming. I'm told there's close to 400,000 square feet of vacant office space in the town of Simsbury at the moment. And so I've had little or no luck. I've only had 2 people at all interested in it, and it just hasn't. It's either too big, too small, or just the wrong configuration. The long and the short of it is I'd like to just convert it back to a single family house at this point. I don't want to build more units there or anything else. I just would like to go back to having it occupied and create one dwelling. The only thing we did at the time when it was converted from a house into an office was physically remove the kitchen. Everything else stayed as it was. The only thing we're proposing is to put the kitchen back in. Doesn't get much simpler than that.
But that doesn't change the exterior or the footprint.
The only change to the exterior from the original was there was a new porch built on the south and a rear staircase. That's all gonna stay just as is. The only thing we're proposing is putting the kitchen back inside and renting it as a single family house. No other changes whatsoever.
Did you say renting it as a single family house?
Correct.
But you're not proposing any sort of deed restriction. You're free to sell it if you want to in the future.
Yeah,
Well, I don't wanna be splitting hairs here, but you could rent it for a few months or a few years, or at some point you could sell it outright. It's your choice
Possibly.
as the owner. Yeah, okay. Got
I
it.
don't wanna rule that out. It's not in the plan, but I don't want to rule it.
Okay.
What price point were you thinking of?
I'm hoping to get about 3,000 for it. It's about an 1,800 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
So if I might ask, so I totally understand what you're talking about with this specific property, but what caused you to bring the request for a text amendment? Like what was the next, what?
This is what I was told we had to do, because it's commercial use at this
But
point.
no,
I'm
no, I guess-
happy to, so we don't, the property is zone B1.
Yep.
Residential uses are not permitted
Yep.
today in any of the B districts,
Mhm.
and therefore the only way
Okay.
to permit it would be through a change in the zoning regulations.
So I guess what I'm a little unclear on is, are we making an amendment to the regulations for all properties?
It would
Or for
apply
this
to
one
all
property?
B districts, yes.
There's no way to do what he wants to do
There is-
without doing that.
There is not. There is not. That's why the recommendation includes review as a special exception, therefore you would apply the criteria of the special exception after a public hearing to determine whether each individual location is appropriate for that conversion.
And my understanding from the planning commission was, the discussion that night was, there's very little B zone in the entire town. So it would not have a huge effect.
And we couldn't just have that rezoned as residential?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't have the map in front of me. This area is zone B. There is residential across the street, but I mean, you run into a potential spot zone.
Residential right next to it though,
Mm,
older homes.
Those are all zone B,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh, so like the hair salon and all
Yeah, those are all, have a B designation. So you have a potential spot zone issue.
These couldn't be just a special exception. Without a text amendment.
But it's not permitted, you have to first add the use to the district. The use doesn't exist in the district, you have to add it first. And then the second step would be a special exception review of each, of the particular location.
One thing I wanna make sure I understand is that what your plan for this site is not actually, would not actually be covered by 8002, because it's not actually middle housing, it's a single family home. So it's not, would not be under a, now granted, we're not operating under that at this point, but just for my own kind of edification, this is not actually, would not actually be as of right if we were to adopt all of the 8002 policies, because it's not middle housing, is that correct?
Well, I mean, not to be facetious, but I mean, literally just got this bill,
Yeah.
3 days ago. I'm doing my best to understand it, quite frankly. My understanding is that, no, it is not covered. Middle housing has a special meaning, it's 2 units through 9 under the definition, so a conversion to a single family would not be covered by that.
Right, so
That's how I understand it today.
So the change we would make today, were we to vote in the affirmative, would not actually, it could work in conjunction with the what is likely to be new state policy, in that any single family home in one of these B1, B2, or B3 zones would be subject to a special exception if we went that route, not as of right. Whereas something that was 2 to 9 would be as of right under,
If you adopted this language, yes,
right, that's just
As I understand
making
it,
sure I
yes.
understand it too, is it?
yes.
Okay.
Are there mixed uses allowed in the B2 zones or the B zones? In other words, apartment upstairs, office down?
So there is a mixed use component in the B zone where it allows 40% of the structure to be residential. It must be on the second floor.
And that would not change from this either.
No, we're not proposing
That would
any
also
changes
be
to
a,
that. It remains, it's in the language today.
right, and that, as it exists, is as of right, or is a special
I
exception?
think it's a special exception.
Special exception.
But just a,
No.
take a moment on,
Site plan.
as of right is an expression that is being used to label something here that
Mhm.
can be a little less than crystal clear.
Yeah,
It becomes as of right after the zoning commission and staff and planning commission have all examined a proposal for a structure. You can't just acquire property and
right.
back in the bulldozers, no. And so it's called as of right as just a euphemism, but it is a right essentially, once the tests are passed, all the standards are met, then the owner has a right to the permit to go forward without a public hearing. It's not an exception, it's just you meet the standards, you get the permit.
Right,
That gets this euphemism as of right. But until you establish the standards for the structure, it's just a
Yes.
proposal. Okay. Now,
as
that's
raised,
enough
yeah,
of-
is a tricky term, for sure.
Right, it can be a little bit,
Yeah.
a little disconcerting, I
Yeah.
guess, but. Anything else you wanted to say, Nord?
Any other questions? I mean,
No, just a comment that your whole complex has mixed use.
yeah, I mean, we have everything from 100 square foot psychotherapist office to 45,000 square, or tennis facility, the gym, gymnastics, music studio, 600 square foot apartment, 400 square foot apartments.
But you have apartments upstairs and commercial
Apartments are all
below.
on the second floor.
I would recommend that you kind of, you keep focused on the text amendment portion
Yes,
of this and not delve into the specifics of an individual property. You may have the opportunity to do that after this item.
Right, because we're not discussing the actual property at this point, we're discussing the
let's
text
not do that.
amendment.
Okay. Do commissioners have any other questions at this point for Nord?
I do.
Then-
Do you have a map, George, of the zones, the Simsbury zones, so we can see what
course.
zones would be affected?
Yeah, I would like to see where it would be. Where is this?
You gotta let me drive though, so just be patient.
I'm not letting you drive.
Patient, let me.
Now, every town, including Simsbury, is required to have a zoning map, and it has to be available to the public. It presents the drawing that
He found it
Jackie
at the
referred
planning.
Oh, yeah.
He self-funded, not that way.
I did find it a plan, you're right.
And that's why I commented that there's not a whole lot of B zone.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's just easier for people to
Yep.
see it, instead of you saying it or me saying it.
Okay, just be patient, everybody.
We're always patient.
Okay, so we'll go north-south here, or south to north, north to south. So if you start in the town line, there is a small section of B where Farley's Pub is and Tractor Supply.
So the color we're
So
looking
that's here,
at,
so these two, so the light pink and the darker red here, this little corner. So, a couple of parcels there. Then you have this larger stretch along Hop Meadow from, essentially Antonio's past the ice rink on both sides of the street. So that's kind of here.
so the reddish,
In the red, yeah,
orangey.
sure. So the
Yeah.
red is the color I'm talking about. Thanks for
It's
keep reminding me to do
orange.
that.
And that section up in Terriffill.
So Terriffill, yeah, Terriffill, yes. Terriffill Main Street. And a bunch of Terriffill right in here. So yes. That probably has the,
Oh, is it just that lighter? That's
yeah,
hard to tell
it's
the
the
I know.
lighter,
orange
yeah, it
ones
is.
there, but okay.
That's
But,
like Elizabeth's, the
but I would tell you in
cover,
terms of total parcels, that probably has the most parcels.
Yeah, yeah.
To be honest. And
There's some existing non-conforming
But
there, though, right?
many of those parcels are actually already residential
Right,
in Terriffill.
existing non-conforming.
They
And
are,
then
Yeah,
there's
that's
that
correct.
right down by the river.
You
Yeah.
can shoot out, there's a little, so that little stretch in West Simsbury where you have the post office and the commercial center there.
by Toll Meadow.
So that is, you have, once you get through the town center, have the area, really of the subject application that's on the agenda tonight, so that would be Simsbury Square and those areas right there. A little further down, you've got Mitchell, and the inn, kind of that area there.
Is that like up by the high school too? Is there one little one? Is
Oh,
that-
you're right,
that-
West
is that
Street,
little
you're right,
one up
good
there?
call.
Okay, that's
That's
up
how I
there.
work
Getting ahead of myself, so,
And the
yeah,
purple
West Street right here.
is industrial?
Yeah, that's all industrial.
So it's still, I mean, it's not all that many parcels, whatever, I mean, that doesn't matter. You've got some B down Hot Meadow. So the area of Cumberland Farms, and then the area of, Cumberland Farms, and I think there's some vacant pieces there as well.
George, I'm sorry, if we go back up, so what is the center zoned? Is that the
Center zone, well, remember, it's got its own,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
got
yeah,
its
that's
own
the center
form-based
zone.
code,
So that's not impacted by
It
this?
is not, no, it
Okay.
is not. Again, center zone already allows residential and commercial as a matter of right.
Okay.
And then and the last would be the B3 at Simsbury Commons, et cetera. So yeah, so there's a number of pockets.
Does this help that Simsbury Commons proposal where they're trying to do some conversion there as well?
So I would answer it two ways. As we understand the Simsbury Common presentation, remember it was an informal presentation, there was no application filed. That proposed the demolition. So this language would not apply to that because it is not a conversion of existing buildings.
So it would only be if they took out the stores and literally just had apartments in the strip mall that's there.
Yes, so that would apply.
Like they
could
couldn't
put
even
apartment-
add a second
That's right.
story to that had apartments, because that would be new.
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, that was, the planning commission put a finer point on making sure it was in existing buildings.
Thanks for the map, I think that was helpful.
Yeah, that was actually really helpful, thank you.
Anything else from the commissioners?
Simsbury's mostly residential.
Take a pause and we'll hear from the public.
I think you're
Nora,
good.
if you wanna sit down, thank you. Anybody from the public wanna make a comments? You have to stick to the issue at hand, though. It really needs to be.
May I ask a question, not a comment yet?
Well, you can ask me a question. I'm not sure I'm gonna answer it for you, so you can ask me.
Thank you. At the beginning of the session, you talked about the governor may sign something into law, making it a state law. So wouldn't that supersede what's happening here tonight?
George tried to explain that a few
Yeah.
minutes ago, and if we look at just what we're trying to do here tonight, no. It's not. What we're doing here tonight isn't covered by changes that are being made in the state statute. I mean, it's this simple. The change in the state statute has to do with structures that would house from 2 to 9 units. And so it doesn't affect a single unit structure. And so it's a single unit structure that is down there at 548 Hot Meadow Street. And while
If I was 20 years younger and wanted to do this for another 20 years, I might consider that, but I don't. I just want to keep what we've got occupied,
it's okay,
reducing rent,
Yeah.
so.
We'll come to that, but we don't have an application. I mean, we're gonna deal with that later this evening, but right now, it's just the framework, the regulation that's required to allow a conversion of a business zone, a commercial zone, similar to a residential. That's what we're doing here.
And importantly.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what's on the table.
And importantly, by special exception, not by right, at least in some of the language.
So this
that we have
single
available.
unit, single family, single unit carries with it a continuation of reliance on public hearings. There's going to be a public hearing anytime there's a
But I mean-
special exception.
What we're passing isn't specific to a single family unit. It applies whether it's 1, 2, 10 in those business areas, but it has to be within an existing structure without like major alterations. And I don't know if we have a definition for existing structure, like if there are a certain percentage of changes and improvements that can be made as part of that conversion, because you would need to be adding exits,
Bathrooms.
like you would need to be able doing some exterior changes, I would imagine, in order to convert, like not in the case example, but in other cases, I would think so. I don't know, is there a definition for that?
So we would,
Yeah, I
we
think
would, we would rely on the, one, we would rely on the building code for that.
Okay,
And two, we would rely on the zoning commission to make that call when
as
it's
part
in
of
front
the
of us.
special exception,
Absolutely,
okay.
yeah, we would.
And be aware that later we're gonna be talking about the giant project that's just down the road to review and revise the zoning regulations for the town of Simsbury.
Right.
Definitions, changes in legal structure and those kind of things are all gonna be aired out and resolved.
Yep.
And so the experts that are coming to work for us shortly will flag things that
Yeah.
they know from their other clients in other states.
Right, I just wanna make sure I understand the implications of what we would looking at passing tonight.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other members of the public wanna say something, comments, questions? No? I'll give it another.
Mr. Chairman, I, if he's gonna talk, I'd have him come up and give his name and all that
You
stuff.
need your
Let's do it
name
right.
and address.
Right here,
Yeah,
Mark Schwab, 7 Harriet Lane in Utah. I'm just trying to understand, so if this gentleman, if you allow this gentleman to do what he's doing, it sounds like it's a no-brainer and it sounds like a nice gentleman and he's gonna do right by the town, but does that open up the opportunity for other people to come and present in front of this body? And then we have one today, and then maybe next week it's another one, and then 2 weeks from now, so before you know it, all these businesses are becoming residential and it's changing the dynamic of the city, the town. So my question, so my specific question is if we, or if this body votes in favor of this gentleman's proposal tonight, that sets a precedent and allows for other citizens to come and make the same request. And then all of a sudden, the landscape of Simsbury is being transferred, or the dynamic of the city is potentially changing. And so that's a question / comment.
Only by special exception though.
right.
So it's
So
not.
every one of those that you're envisioning here and here and here and here, every one of those is gonna have to pass muster with a public hearing. And they won't all be potentially as suitable, to just use the word, as this
And only in those
location might be.
locations that we just reviewed, right?
So again, part of my ignorance and wasting people's time, I'm not new to this
No.
process.
It's really complicated.
So
Those are good questions.
this citizen can come up and then maybe, I might come here next week and present, but ultimately, this body will decide on a per case basis to say yes or say no.
Yes, correct.
Well,
Exactly. And there's,
Unless we're over.
it's based on things,
You're-
it's not just
superseded by
right.
the
Yeah, we
Right,
haven't
it's not
gotten to
arbitrary,
the-
but the.
No, it's not arbitrary.
Right, it's not arbitrary, but there'll be a basis. So to say that because this gentleman's gonna be potentially approved tonight doesn't mean that every other citizen will have the opportunity to be approved as well.
You're right.
Okay.
Every other citizen doesn't have the right to be approved. They have to do the same process. You have to have a proposal, it has to meet, but a single family in the future, under the new statute, when the governor finally signs it, a single family structure is really not gonna be impacted. It's the 2-family, the 3-family, yada yada, up to 9, they're affected, and they will not need a public hearing. But if you're only doing a single unit,
Thank you.
And it's existing structures have to remain,
Right.
so it's like if you take the Cumberland Farms property, for example, that would then have to be somehow converted into something, and we would have to sit here and think that that was a good idea, and that would have to be something that somebody would want to live in with minimal modifications made to it, and so it doesn't apply really to some of just
For this single-family residential, your comment, Chairman, about the governor, that's for a different type of project.
it's a, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
For what it's worth, something like a gas station would not be able to be turned into residential
No,
because of the
right, that's what I'm
soil.
saying, I mean, that's kind of what I was
It'd
saying,
be a
like,
brownfield, yeah.
I'd keep the public hearing going.
Yeah.
Sir?
Hi, I'm Lori Boyko, my address is on record. I don't have an issue with a single-family house in that location, but it seems really strange to me that George is suggesting that the board needs to be careful about spot zoning, but the request is to change this zoning so that you can put residential uses in here by special exception, which I know it isn't by definition spot zoning, but it sure starts to feel like it. I also can't help but question if we're gonna bring in consultants to reevaluate the zoning in the entire town and look at it holistically, that it seems sort of like we're putting the cart before the horse if we're making text amendment changes right now. I understand that he needs to get his place rented, I feel for that, I have empathy for that, but I don't think as a town, we should be making zoning decisions across the board based on that. So I'm just confused why we end up with these individual uses that end up bringing entire text amendments and then the entire zoning of the town is changed because somebody wants to change one property. Feels like we're backing into everything and we should be looking at it forward-looking instead of changing things and then going back and changing them again afterwards. Thank you.
Anybody else? I should have mentioned just so, the project with the consultant working with us to review and revise the zoning regulations, it's an 18-month project. You can't just say, we're closing up the planning and zoning operations here for 18 months, just because somebody might end up, in a situation that's not as advantageous as somebody else who acted earlier or acted later, but we will certainly have those issues on our minds as I'm overstating the we, but as this project unfolds for 18 months, so anyway. Anybody else? I'm gonna close the public hearing then if everybody's had adequate opportunity. Then let me ask if there's,
Make a motion in that. So I'm gonna move that we close the
Thank you.
public hearing on application ZC 25-28.
thank you, and a second please.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye please. And those opposed say nay. Closing the public hearing passed unanimously. So and we'll move back to the commission members. Do commission members have any additional comments to make, questions to raise?
Matt,
We could mention that this was
Mr. Chairman.
supported by CROG.
because she's an alternate.
so just to remind everybody the rules, once you close the public hearing, the alternates can't
Okay.
participate, yeah.
We already finished that.
Next time.
Next month,
Right,
so,
2 weeks.
yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So as always, staff prepares an affirmative motion, you do have one on the screen, or you can always choose an alternate motion.
And we're still in discussion though, right, Bruce?
Right,
When you- Right, okay.
That's fine.
2028.
Do you want a motion or do you want to discuss prior?
I think we were discussing, right?
I thought we
Yeah,
discussed
we're
it.
discussing.
Sure.
Did you wanna add something? Who was in line to say something? Did you have something, Kate, you wanted to say?
Okay, rather, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm I mean, I'm hearing what the public is saying and I'm myself like torn on passing versus not passing this and what the implications are gonna be for future cases, so I don't know if anyone else has.
No, I agree. I mean, Lori voiced exactly what I was thinking when I first came in, like, again, love your idea, nothing wrong with that. But, you know, why are we changing all of doing a text amendment to accommodate one property? I just feel like there's another way we could, and she makes a good point, you know, we're gonna be redoing everything in a while, so.
Well, we don't know how much is gonna be redone, the consultants
Oh, no, of
haven't
course,
started yet.
of course, absolutely, but you know, we're evaluating everything, let's just say. I just, you know, it gives me pause, I don't love the doing that. I would like to do anything we can to accommodate this particular request because I think it makes sense, totally understood, and it was a house before. There's nothing objectionable to that at all. I just don't love the idea of us putting in a text amendment to accommodate that.
And I worry about landlords or like owners of these properties not working hard enough to get commercial, like it's really hard, it is hard to get commercial tenants. We're in a time right now where that's obviously becoming more and more challenging, but it's something that our community needs. And I worry about not getting enough effort because it's easy to just come in for the special exception and people aren't gonna try as hard to get a commercial resident because it's harder than getting a residential tenant. And then we lose like restaurants and businesses that potentially could be part of the growth of our community.
So let me ask a question to Kate and Diane. We have a specific need which has been identified by the applicant. And I think most would agree he made a compelling case.
Absolutely.
So if we don't allow this, what's the solution to address the specific need that's on the table
Yeah.
tonight?
No, I hear you, and again, my only other thing was could we simply rezone this single property? I don't know.
I think George hit that early on.
I know, I don't like to
think that's
spot
The
on.
answer to that is gonna be a
I
no.
don't think that's allowed.
Yeah, I don't know, is there an option C? I don't know.
I mean, the special exception does allow us to turn people down. I just don't know that it'll happen every time, you know, I don't know if I don't know, it's hard to predict the future.
Right. I appreciate what you're saying, and I appreciate the concern for sure. I just don't know that that's something we can control. Just like any other, you know, plan that comes before us, we can't know what people's intentions are.
Sure.
I think that, especially since this is with a special exception, not as of right use, allowing commercial to residential in B 123 zoning is something that's mentioned in the POCD as a means of housing growth. It's not outside of something that we would want to be doing anyway. The way it's coming to us is a unique way in that we have the text amendment and then the immediate result of the text amendment right next to each other.
Yeah.
But I imagine that the applicant wouldn't have chosen to go the text amendment route were that not their only legal recourse, right? Now, that being said, I think B1, B2, and B3 zones being by special exception open to residential uses is well within the POCD and a completely reasonable thing that we could be considering and should be considering going forward anyway. Not to mention that it's already in what is likely to be the state law. We're going to see by right mixed housing. So what this is doing for us is saying, look, if you want to do, it lays out the framework for housing that is larger than that state law and also for single family homes. I think that's a completely reasonable thing. It's a good control and it honestly works. You know, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, I guess, because this works with the new state law and it is within the some of the goals that we've as a board have stated. So I personally see this as a good opportunity for our zoning regs.
But if we didn't have the use case that we all like in front of us, would we be sitting here revising our zoning right now?
We might.
Yeah,
We can't, that's what I'm saying.
if this applicant came forward and said, I'd like to change the zoning to exactly this, and then had a project that we thought was no good, I'd be perfectly comfortable voting on the change in regulation and then voting no on the application, as it stands before us. And that's the whole point of the special exception, is that it allows a greater amount of control and a greater amount of public input on certain things. And honestly, I mean, a single family home being open to special exception is the only instance that I'm aware of and where a single family home is ever put forward by special exception, because usually single family housing is by right, just happens not to be in this zone.
Anything else? Tony, we're researching a motion.
Do you
I
wanna
think
move,
you can
Tony?
just read this.
I'd be happy to move. I move that the zoning commission approves ZC 25-28, a text amendment to allow the conversion of existing buildings for residential uses in B1, B2, and B3 zones, using the following insertion language of to section 4.5. Do I have to read the graph or just say the graph? Okay. Effective immediately pending the statutory appeal period. That's all special exception, correct? Yeah, okay. Finding that this is consistent with the zoning policies contained in the POCD, and the special exception allows for a public hearing and application of the review criteria.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the language that was read, that uses a provision in the regulation that's consistent with what's, almost perfectly consistent with what's in the industrial zoning for I-1 and I-2. You've all had an opportunity to hear it and read it. Any other comments before we take a vote? Well, then we'll go ahead with the vote. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
So the vote is 4-2, and the text amendment is adopted. So thank you for your comments, and you're gonna get to sort of do this again.
I've made some others, but it seems moot at this point, so.
Well, we'll go ahead then with our next item of business tonight, which is the application to actually make the conversion of the home on 548 Hot Meadow Street. This is under, the application is zoning commission 25-29, and Tony, could you read the notice?
Application ZC number 25-29 of Simsbury Square Enterprises owner Nord Christensen, applicant for a special exception pursuant to section 4.5 and section 12 of the Simsbury zoning regulations, allow the conversion of a structure to a residential use at 548 Hot Meadow Street, Assessors Map G12, Block 132, Lot 031, Simsbury, Zone B-1.
So you have the same applicant, follows on the text amendment pursuant to the text amendment request for a special exception to convert 548 Hot Meadow Street for a single-family residential use. So the parcel is a 1.3 acre parcel, 1,700 square foot residential structure, which I believe is quite old. Structure has, and I'll let the applicant talk more about this, structure has been used for commercial office over the past decade or so or more, but is currently vacant, although it was originally a single family house. Just a couple of helpful maps to kind of get a location. So here's Simsbury Square, kind of the larger, with the tennis facility and the big sky, and I think Mr. Christensen's office is over here. So here's the location of the single family house. You can see from the aerial right here, and then a little street view check of it. So that's the request from the applicant to convert this structure into a single family home. Defer to the applicant the rest of the way here.
Kind of said it all already. I can say it all again if you want, but
See prior.
I mean, the only thing I can say, it was an EB house, those were all EB houses. My father-in-law, over the last 50 years, he literally let forgive me, the old woman who was in the house lived there, took care of the house for her until she died, and took the rest of the property in the rear and developed it, and that's how this has evolved. This was the last house that he bought it from, pardon me, the old woman who lived in the house.
I would like to know how old the
who
woman
was-
was.
I'm not very politically correct here.
She was 50.
Oh.
I'm old, so I can get away with it, can I? You know, her husband passed away, she lived there, when she could no longer live there, this was the last one that he bought. And it was immediately converted to office. It's been an office for 30 years, it was one of the very first projects I worked on when I first started there 31 years ago. You know, Sage had no, you know, that was totally unexpected, he had planned to keep going. With the amount of vacant office space in town, it's gonna sit empty, it's just gonna sit empty. And we can't afford that, there's a need for housing, I don't know what more to say.
George, did you wanna say something about the standards that we're looking for on disorderly development properties?
I certainly could.
Those items.
So just as a reminder, the special exception carries with it kind of a set review criteria, and it asks you to review whether this represents orderly development, whether there is any impact on property values, whether there are any public safety concerns, whether there are any traffic considerations, whether there are any landscape and buffer elements to consider. Is there any particular relationship of this request to impacts on utilities? If you can kind of walk through staff analysis, again, we talk about the corridor being a mixed-use corridor. This is a request to, well, Simsbury Square is a mixed-use development, I should say, and this is really part of Simsbury Square, certainly is adjacent and a part of. So we don't find any indication that this would negatively affect property values. Obviously, it would be a reduction in traffic from a single-family house to something that would permit office. We find that it really substantially meets those criteria.
And then to the commissioners, so
it's a public hearing still. This is a public hearing as well, separate.
let's,
I get to say something?
You can say something.
Only if it's
the
relevant,
commissioners-
Dagny.
Yes, it's relevant right now, otherwise we'll hear from the public.
No, it meets all those criteria, you know, to be a residential home as it used to be, and it's set back reasonably from the traffic. I see no reason to object.
Do you know when the home was built?
I'm guessing it's a little over 100 years old.
Yeah, built by EB
Those
Carpenter.
were all EB factory houses.
Okay.
UPS store was the package store and the grocery store and
We miss them. But,
my grandfather used to stop there and get up.
yeah,
And then let us ride on the back of the truck home so that he could sit inside and drink. Totally.
does anyone from the public wanna say something? Questions, comments? This is just on the conversion of that one house. So we're on the second half of this process. So I'm not seeing any hands or interest in commenting. I'll go back to the commissioners. Commissioners have anything further to say?
Yeah, my only concern is that it could have been an opportunity for missing middle housing, so a duplex or something larger. That being said, this commission is thankfully, the R8 zone would be able to be applied to this at some point, theoretically.
I'm not sure I understand your question at all.
Wouldn't they be able to divide this into R8 at some point?
Well, it's zone B1.
Right, so what I'm saying is we recently passed a provision that allowed for residential homes to be turned into R8s, which would allow for duplexes and such. Would that also apply to this, or no, because it's B1, it's a different zone?
So no, it wouldn't apply, because if you remember what you did was you created an R8
Right.
zone. Of course, you didn't map it, but there is
Right.
an R8 zone that exists that a property could be rezoned to.
Right.
That would allow for a minimum 8,000 square foot lots and attached units. So you would have to go through a zoning, if one wanted to rezone this parcel to R8, you'd have to go through a zoning process, find consistency.
Spot zoning.
I think you might fall back into the same problem.
Right, I see.
I was reasonably told.
Okay.
That would be spot zoning,
That would be
so
spot zoning,
I would think
okay.
that would
So this
be the
wouldn't be,
future of
they
this
wouldn't be able to
property.
rezone this to R8 at some point down the line, theoretically. Is it still commercial?
So it's zoned commercial, I think the corridor has a lot of commercial on it. I think it would be challenging, but that would be a decision for a future zoning commission.
Can I
Okay.
do this motion?
Well, look, a occupied single-family home is better than an unoccupied office building, any day, so fantastic.
Can I do
Okay.
this one first? Oh, we have to close the public hearing, and then.
Yes, I'm gonna move that we close the public hearing on application ZC 25-29.
Thank you. And do we have a second for a
Second.
motion to close the public hearing? Okay, great. So we have a motion and a second, we'll take a vote. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, say nay. The public hearing is closed on any of this vote. So we're ready to,
The only thing I would note is just remember that obviously the special exception cannot be, is not valid until after the appeal period for the text amendment goes first.
Right.
So 2 weeks,
Remind us,
2 weeks
appeal-
plus, 2 weeks plus
period
after
is 30
publication.
30 days. Yeah, okay. So here we are.
Okay.
We passed a motion. Any further comments, questions? None? And how about a motion to approve?
I'll do it.
Okay. Do you
My
have a
last
motion?
one. Okay. Oh, no, that's okay, I just want one. So I move that the Simsbury Zoning Commission approves application ZC 25-29 at 548 Hop Meadow Street for special exception pursuant to section 4.5 and section 12 of the Simsbury zoning regulations to permit the conversion of an existing structure for a single-family residential use based on the following finding. The special exception criteria set forth in section 12 of the zoning regulations have been substantially satisfied as addressed in the staff report, and that the special exception awaits the 2-week appeal process of the text amendment previously voted into regulations.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve application 2529. If there isn't any further discussion, we'll go ahead with a vote. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Motion to approve 2529 is approved unanimously. So that takes care of Mr. Christensen's both applications, so thank you.
And Brittany's gonna take this one,
Okay, we have
not a public hearing.
a non-public hearing, but another application. This one is 25-30. It involves a development on West Street, so read the notice, Tony. Oh, wait a minute.
Don't need to read the notice.
Okay. So, I'll read it anyway.
Well, Brittany's got some slides, let her
Oh, right.
let her take you through.
There you go.
Thank you, Chairman. This is for a parcel that is adjacent to 123 West Street. It is called 1B. This is 123 West Street right here, and here is the parcel in question. This is an approximately 1.2 acre parcel that the applicant is looking to turn into an up to 76 temporary parking lot. It is currently vacant wooded land. The applicant is using it for the current DW landscape facility. It will be for overflow parking for employees. Access to and from the parking lot is proposed to be these red arrows coming out, and this is West Street right here. Currently, they are two separate parcels, as you'll notice the lot line right here. The applicant proposes to merge these two parcels, allowing this to be an accessory parking lot to the landscape facility. It also allows for an impervious surface to be calculated using both to meet the 40% impervious surface requirements. One of the comments made in the staff report related to the proposed buffer area. If you'll notice in the staff report, we have residential over here, business and industrial surrounding and elsewhere. There is a regulation that states the zoning commission can require more of a dense vegetation buffer between commercial and non-commercial parcels. The applicant has provided this revised version here, which includes 9 evergreen trees for that. Again, the applicant is here, if they want to make a brief presentation.
Good evening, folks. My name is Dave Ziyax. I'm a professional engineer with F.A. Hesketh Associates. We're located next door in East Granby. With me tonight is Dave Burr and Tyler Burr in the audience from Burr Landscaping. And the applicant's actually Arbor Holdings LLC, which they're the principals of. And as Brittany pointed out, this is a pretty straightforward application. The landscaping business continues to grow. And in particular, seasonally, their employee parking is stuffed everywhere on their existing lot. Not very well organized because there's no large parking area. It's mostly parking around the edges and the like. So this piece of property is kind of strange. It's landlocked. It's left over from all the other development that's around it. You see below the star, there's a self-storage facility there. To the right is the bus parking facility. And then along West Street is a whole assortment of, gas stations. I think there's a liquor store there. There's various everything. You folks are familiar with that. So the proposal would be, again, a temporary gravel lot where the star is that by arithmetic and geography, you can put up to 76 parking spaces there and meet the town's parking regulations. Again, we use the word temporary because the goal is to put a small office building here for the landscaping business, and that would have permanent paved parking associated with it for customers and for employees. And we provided a sketch that staff put in the package to you folks to show you what the future will bring, but for now we like to put the temporary parking at this location. And I was thinking today, what is the shape of this parcel? And I realized technically it's an irregular heptagon. So seven-sided parcel. We're not proposing any lighting at this time on this parcel. And as Brittany pointed out, we're gonna add some additional landscaping there. One thing I want to point out is that we will be changing the grading such that we're gonna be lowering that grade along that westerly and southerly property line. So actually the parking lot will be lower than the couple of residential parcels that face to the west. So I think there'll be a good buffer to those. I think it's two single-family homes now in that location. When we combine the two lots together, we'll end up with a total lot of 6.46 acres, and that'll allow us to meet the 40% coverage for both parcels. Staff report was given to you. That was we have no concerns with a few recommendations and the recommended motion that they provided you. So at this point, I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Could you use your wand or whatever to point to the school bus parking?
It's all the little white, yeah,
Those, that's the school
Yeah,
buses?
yeah.
Okay. And where is the Chinese restaurant?
right in that
Right in
location
there,
there, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you're driving
It's
right
overland.
through?
So this is Bushy Hill right here, if that
Yes.
helps.
Yeah, it's under West. I think the
Yeah,
Chinese
it's
restaurant's
over
under
there,
West,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm curious, I did drive over there today and I did see a bunch of cars parked like all willy-nilly, so I get the whole idea. I am curious why you didn't merge the lots first and then ask to have just that you wouldn't have to worry about the, the impervious coverage percentage and all that.
That's a good question, and I don't have a really good answer for you, other than its time has come. It's a condition of the site plan approval, so that, we'll get that done.
I have a question about the wooded area. You, or somebody mentioned, maybe it was you, Brittany, who mentioned there were 9 evergreen trees. Is that?
That's gonna be the proposed buffer.
Okay, so what is, so it's just woods.
It's probably wide open right now. There is a stockade fence along their portion, we're gonna maintain that. But pretty much all deciduous up there, so right now, the evergreen buffer is gonna be better than what's there now.
Okay. That was my question.
And again, remember, we're right in front of those where our parking is gonna be considerably lower because we're excavating into the hillside.
But you talked about 70-something lots, is that how many are needed? That sounds like a lot. Parking spaces.
76 parking spaces,
Is that
yeah.
how many are needed?
Yeah, I think on a busy seasonal time period, especially if they take all the car parking off the, the existing lot now and devote that to equipment and things
Where's
that
the
way.
existing, if you go back to the other, no, so where's the existing part? In here, okay.
How, you have it like laid out really nicely, is that just for our benefit of like seeing how cars could park? Because it's it's not gonna have lines or anything, so you're gonna get sort of whatever you get as people sort of like wedge in there.
Yeah, I just needed to do a layout so that it looked like a parking lot, but
Yeah.
you're right, we're not gonna go out
Okay.
and stripe gravel. So,
So it's gonna be hard for like that middle row to figure out what they're doing there.
yeah, you know what it is the first 2 cars in the morning set the row up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it will vary from day to day.
Alright.
Just for further clarification, how many employees do you have
We're approximately 85 in the summer.
in the summer? And at other times during the year?
It depends on what winter does to us. It can actually go up or down.
Thank you.
As I understand it, this part, cause it seemed, my main concern was that you were over parking the facility, but it looks like you're trying to eventually create an office building for the business, so it will have less parking than this at some point,
Right.
correct?
Yeah,
And will also be fully impervious at some point.
and that new parking lot will have to meet your landscaping
Right,
standards.
right. This is more just a stopgap
Transition.
until you can actually put in the office building.
Yeah, and we will be installing the necessary stormwater control now.
Right,
So we don't have to go back and revisit that.
But then you'll have less parking, so if you need this much parking now, but then you put an office building on here and then you have whatever, 40% less parking, then how are you gonna handle your parking? If the office building's going on top of the parking?
It's gonna be a small office building, maybe 2,000 square feet,
what,
and
It's tiny.
and the office building is currently in the building there now, so they wanna free up some space in there for operations. Cause right now they're sharing that operations building with offices and the like, so they wanna move the office building over to the new little office building, and then that will free up some additional space in their existing building for operations and not for shared
But you're expecting there still be parking, people will continue parking here.
Well, yeah, because the folks who come in that actually operate the machinery and all that things.
Is there any plan to put the machinery in this parking lot or to store any other items beside employee parking on a, like, is there any overnight parking planned for this site?
No, there's no site lighting on it, so, no. And we had talked about that and said, no, we're gonna do employee parking here and leave the operations over on the 123 West Street site.
So there wouldn't be like any equipment or long-term storage items or anything like that going on that?
No, I mean, your site, our approval doesn't provide for that, so
How long is
that would be an
temporary?
outdoor storage type of an application.
Yeah.
How long is temporary?
I don't know, what's temporary, guys?
I'd like to think that we'd be building in the next 2 to 3 years. And also, if I may, I wanna just mention 2 things. One is that if we can get the employee cars into this area, it'll make the working area a lot safer than it currently is, and I don't wanna have any problems with that. And then also, one of the things that we discussed with George was that if we have the employees enter, because we understand, and I don't know that you do it, there's a right of way between the liquor store and the Chinese restaurant that goes to this piece. So all these people that will be parking there will be coming in that way, and they'll also be exiting that way, and that's in an effort to get the traffic away from the bus yard. Because first thing in the morning, you know, we've been very fortunate, but it's a little bit conflicting at 7 a.m. or 6:30.
But isn't that traffic loop showing it right through the bus yard?
Yeah, I do.
That's the but that was for the temporary lot right now, but you're saying eventually when the office building is there.
Even before that,
That
as soon as the lot is functional for employee parking, we're gonna have them come in through the right of way and exit through the right of way to keep them away from the bus yard.
Okay.
Where's the right of way? Under West Street.
Yeah, it's
Those
basically
two
right in the
blocks.
middle of West Street and it goes right to the Star.
Are there any objections from either the business owners or the residents neighboring, like the?
None that I'm aware of.
They actually have rights to use that driveway and the common driveway. So, and there's utilities and drainage and everything's shared out here. So yeah, they actually have the rights to use that driveway as well.
I would personally, well, as a commissioner, I guess, I would like to see a little bit more of a buffer than like one row of 9 evergreens. Like you've got all that woods there and I realize that, you know, you own the property and that happens to be behind residences, but if I were living in those houses, I'd want a little more of a buffer for losing that entire like forest that's behind them right now.
Well, what I would suggest we do is since it is site plan approval, is why don't we leave it with what we have proposed, which I think is gonna be fine. And then leave it open that final determination will be made with staff. Once it's cleared, once we really see what we have out here, if we have to add some more, you know, we can do that working with staff. We've done that on numerous locations here in town over the years. I mean, I could just randomly show another row of something, but if you don't need it, it's kind of ridiculous.
So when you have a permanent building there, are you gonna do they need to keep the trees? Once it's a building in a parking lot?
Well, the building is proposed to be like where the red square is.
Right.
So
the
the houses would be
only
looking at the
for-
back of a building that's gonna look like basically a house, an office building, you know.
So those trees are only for
2 or 3 years.
they're only for a little bit
Wait,
while it's a.
Well, I would suggest we would recommend keeping the landscape.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Oh, yeah,
I'm
Once we
not, I'm not
plant-
presupposing, but once you plant those trees, staff is gonna recommend
don't
that
wanna
we
go
go
away.
away.
We're not gonna take them
Inside that
out.
red square.
Yeah.
The building's small inside.
Yeah,
that
well, there's a
red square.
setback, you know, there's
Yeah.
a 25-foot setback.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna look no different than the adjacent property once it's complete, and it'll have which don't even have evergreens.
But I mean, right now it's the big forest.
Right, well, it's a patch of scrub that's been there for maybe 40 years.
Can you just point out where the actual access to the parking lot is gonna be then per what we were just discussing? It's up at the top, but can you show me on your drawing where it is?
Yeah.
Cause I just wanna make sure I understand what it's planned for.
Yeah, it is,
On there.
it definitely is.
George,
Right,
Not the end where what it's looking like, but it's like at the top there?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's right here.
Yeah, okay,
And it's sort of paved right up to the edge here.
okay.
There's actually another little parking lot located right in here, and I think I was talking to Brittany about that. Somebody talking about maybe expanding, the restaurant expanding into that little parking lot?
No.
Did we have that conversation? Must have been talking to somebody else then. But there is a parking lot right here, you know, but it's a gravel something or other.
It goes over to the corner of, the one on the corner of Bushy Hill.
Goes on the corner?
They're talking about
Yeah.
improving the asphalt there.
Oh, yeah,
That's being
because it's there, you
That's
can, you
what
can,
yeah.
you can park there, and then there's a driveway that goes straight out to West Street.
And then from those trees, there would be, like, I'm not really seeing, are they gonna be planted on an incline that is like a downgrade into that parking area? Cause you said it was gonna go down.
Yeah, no, we'll put them right up at the, along the boundary line, and again, there's a stockade fence over here that's probably gonna get relocated right on the property line with our landscaping in front of it.
Okay, and that is already a lower grade, I'm seeing a little bit of grading on the others to the left of the trees, so that's where it's coming down, cause you said it's
Yeah.
gonna be lower.
It's gonna be lower, yeah.
So it's a stockade fence and trees between your property and the,
The stockade fence is coming down.
oh, but it's
No, it's
being
being
moved.
relocated.
We'll put it back up along the property line, I think it's a little bit off the property line now.
But we're looking at evergreens and a stockade fence.
This doesn't look low, I guess it's low,
Okay.
these guys are all.
Other questions of the applicant or engineer?
Here, it looks like it is, but here.
Okay. Hearing no more questions and no hands up, how about a motion to act on this thing? The draft motion is on the screen right there to approve the submitted application 25-30. Would somebody like to be responsible for reading this?
I will do
Shannon,
it.
You're it, okay,
Hey.
thank you.
Move that the zoning commission approves application ZC 25-30 of Arbor Holdings LLC, owner Dave Ziyax, PE, applicant for a site plan to construct a temporary gravel parking area for up to 76 vehicles in the rear lot of 123 West Street, assessors map F11, block 103, lot 002A, Simsbury, zone B2, upon a finding the application substantially meets the requirements of section 11 of the zoning regulations and with the following conditions. I was not expecting.
1, 2, 3. Say as
Oh my god, the project
I think you can say, you can reference it, you know,
You just
they're
say
in the staff,
okay.
it's in the staff
as
report.
seen, as presented.
But I would like to make a friendly motion that we add, that additional landscaping will be provided as needed, for proper visibility obstruction to the residences.
I would support that.
Wait a minute. I thought we were certainly gonna let go of that because there's gonna be another building there in 2 to 3 years. Whatever
Yes, it
goes in
is.
there now is
As
gonna
needed
take
by
time.
the town staff.
Maybe like at
Subject
staff's
to approval
discretion.
by the town
Is that-
staff.
would we even need to legislate that, or would you be able to?
Yeah, you do, because if there's a disagreement, we would bring it back to you.
Okay.
Yeah, yes,
So,
that's the friendly amendment, is to
okay,
add additional landscaping
okay.
as appropriate.
Okay, so we are adding the friendly amendment to have additional landscaping on the site
As, yeah, as needed.
As needed.
as needed.
Obstructing the view of the field.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Do we need to vote on the amendment?
I don't think so, cause it's friendly, I think we can just pass it
I
as
think it's
having
just-
added.
Still need a second though, I think.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the application 25-30. And I'm sensing there aren't any more questions or comments, so we're ready for a vote. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. Motion passed unanimously for application 25-30. So, we're all set.
Thank you.
Mr. Zayas.
And the good news is we won't need a change order. We have to add some more landscaping.
You're
Thank you.
Good evening, how are you?
Mr. Chairman, you've got 3 items under commissioner business or just general commission business. The first is final review and approval of the scope and contract for the Simsbury Comprehensive Zoning Regulations with FHI Studio / IMEG. So what you need to do is you need to approve it and direct staff to execute the contract, or ask for changes and we can go back to the provider.
Okay. With that essentially as a model, let's start with reactions to what's in front of us.
I have one suggestion, Mr. Chairman. I would like to see 1 or 2 meetings with elected officials included, be it the state representative, Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and also, it's not elected, but also the Economic Development Committee. I think in order for this to be successful, we need to buy in across town leadership, so getting their input up front
Would you be okay with including them as stakeholders and not for, if I had 5 individual meetings with those bodies, the price is going up. I can't do it for that amount of money.
I didn't
So-
say 5 individual, I said 1 meeting where we could
So we
invite
could
as
do, we could
many.
include them as stakeholders.
Okay. Can you explain, what does that mean?
Yeah, so we'll have a stakeholder process where we'll meet with, dozens of groups from the community.
I mean, that's already included in the community engagement. My concern is that having senior town leadership meet as part of
Yes, we can do that.
a larger meeting is
Of
not
course.
gonna allow for them to have adequate input.
Of course. And I can guarantee you that the contractor will agree with that.
Okay,
If they don't, I'll come back.
okay, thank you.
Do you feel like 2 public hearings is enough, given like how this town operates in public hearings? Or would you want to add a 3rd? What do you think 2 is enough?
Yeah, because they're only in here for the adoption.
No, so there'll be, I mean, there's 2 formal public hearings, a kickoff meeting and I think a 4th meeting.
Yeah, so we'll
there are
already
4
have heard
public
from people.
opportunities. Yeah,
Alright, so that's just the adoption, so that
yes.
people have already had a chance to say, so we'll only be rehashing things probably at that point.
I had another area of sort of interest, George, and that is that there is identified in the process is a point at which the new regulations would be 25% complete. And there would be a discussion or something to that effect. And then there's 50% complete, then 75% complete, and then 100% complete. I'd like to see those benchmarks somewhere on the 18-month calendar. So there's a layout of 18 months. First, second, third, up to 18 months. I'd like to see
I see what you're saying.
those things marked on the 18 months, at what point should we expect to see the 25% benchmark?
Yeah.
At what point do you expect, now, they've been doing this a long time and they've done a lot of these.
No, I think
A great
that's a good-
challenge
I think it's a
to
really
Yeah, that's a good point.
spot them in there on the calendar so that we have a sense before we get, before things slip too far out of what we expected. If we had an idea of when those things would be available, I think everybody would be better off, the consultants and,
We can do that.
okay. So, that being said, that was the only concern I had after reading it a few times. It's really quite consistent with what I think they said to us and with the RFP that we distributed.
We can do that.
So, with that addition, I mean, personally, I'm in favor of approving it as we have it now.
So then I would just need a motion to,
What do we need in the motion?
I think simply to direct staff to execute the contract, subject to the additions this evening.
What was that, you just said, subject to the addition?
Subject to the additions to the scope this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you wanna,
Sure, I move to direct staff to execute subject to the amendments made this evening.
Second?
so we have a motion and a second. Are there further discussion before we vote? Then would all in favor say aye, please?
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. Approved, going ahead with these consultants with this framework.
George, do you see these meetings happening during the regular zoning commission schedule or outside of, or both? Just for the public to know.
So you know, it always depends upon your workload as a group. So I tend to prefer, and I think the consultant is gonna prefer that they are outside of your normal meetings, because that way
May
you'll
not
have,
be a
you'll have,
Monday
may not be.
meeting, it might be.
I mean, that way you don't have if you got a 6-item agenda, it's gonna be very difficult to concentrate on that. So we'll figure out a way to work in the schedule.
Thank you.
And maybe it's on the same night, maybe it's on Monday night, but you start at 5 and you go to 7 or something like that.
Thanks.
I wouldn't fear the discussion on that point, because again, these consultants have done a lot of these, and most of their clients are towns, and they're dealing with zoning commissions. And so we have the same issues. Not identical, but very similar everywhere they go, so. We have another item which has to do with approval of two nominees for positions on the design review board. Tony, do you want to
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about these two
Sure.
folks?
Jolene Benedict is a current member of the DRB. Her term is expiring on December 1st. She's been on the DRB for the last 3 years, and she's performed well, so I support her renomination. The second is William Clegg, who we appointed last meeting as an alternate member. But one of the regular members of the DRB is leaving on December 1st when he joins the zoning commission. That's Doug McCown. So now there's a need for a regular member. And so I believe that Bill Clegg should be nominated now as a regular member of the DRB.
I'll say that Bill Clegg's resume in particular seemed pretty spot on. He had like, you know,
Very
Yeah.
excellent.
very good
For
experience.
those who don't know, the design review board has an accountability to the zoning commission, and so as of just a few years ago, the zoning commission appoints the people on that board. Look for people, I'm not gonna hit this 100%, but with credentials that have to do with what you would expect on building design, whether it's landscaping or engineering. There's a whole array of different backgrounds you might have that would contribute to preparing and providing and participating with this group. So it's a 4-year term, and as was noted, we have 2 qualified candidates who've been identified. And really, our role at this point is to, we all have their resumes. So I think unless somebody has some more questions they want to ask Tony, we're probably ready to go ahead and vote on these 2 candidates. Bill Clegg and Jolene. How's that sound? Okay, how about a motion to approve the 2?
I will make that motion to approve Bill Clegg and Jolene Benedict for seats on the design review board.
I'll second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to approve the 2 candidates that have been identified. If there are no questions or comments, we'll go ahead with a vote. All in favor of appointing these 2 candidates to the design review board, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. And congratulations to Jolene and Bill there. Well, Jolene's just continuing, but Bill I'm sure he's gonna be a great fit with his background, so, thank you.
Next item is approval of your regular zoning commission dates for 2026. Remember, we have to do this now and then provide it to the clerk by January 1, so that's why we try to do it in November. So this is, the calendar was in your packet.
Dates look good.
And they're the,
Thanks for
I
not
mean-
doing them on, July 4th and things like that.
well, we try to accommodate. I mean, again, the only it really is identical to your to the calendar of the past. We've moved that the September's meeting, really the September meetings we moved from Monday to Wednesday because of Labor Day and then the Jewish holidays. So those are on Wednesdays, as they were this year and last year.
And again, August, we may have meetings with the consultants.
Yeah, so I would actually expect some meetings in August, certainly on the zoning update, yeah. I'm not sure you get that whole month off.
But it makes sense.
He's saying he doesn't get the whole month off.
Yeah, right.
Do we need a motion?
You do need a motion to approve the calendar, yeah. I'm sure do.
I will make that motion to accept the proposed zoning commission regular meeting dates for 2026.
And a second?
I'll second that too.
Thanks, Diane. So we have a motion and a second to adopt the calendar.
Let you think we see
Presented
the
right there on the screen. So if there's no other questions or comments from the commissioners, I'd ask that all in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, it's unanimously adopted, the calendar as it's presented there. So I think that's our last business item.
Oh, I've got one more. These folks are all here for it. It's just wonderful. Okay, so, all right. So when, when we identify issues that we're challenged by, we kind of try to bring them to. We've done that before with lots of other issues. So we've talked about signs previously in our challenges with our current sign regulations, particularly as they relate to temporary signs. And so I've got two items for you tonight to talk about, and we want to kind of explain what the issues are and what the challenges are and maybe a path forward. But I think it's important that we share these issues. Some of them are kind of interpretation based. I mean, it is staff's job to make the call on these issues. It's our job, it's not your job, but the way we have worked over the time I've been here is I wanna make sure we're on the same page, and if we need to have different guidance or go in a different direction, I wanna make sure that you're aware of the issue. So, I wanna talk about two issues, which are one, kind of quote unquote, neon and LED open signs, which we have had a number of questions about and a number of complaints about, because we know in this town for our regular signs, we don't allow directly illuminated signs or signs that are lit in this manner. Everything has to be indirectly lit. But the question is whether an open sign is actually a sign or not. We'll get to that in a second. And then the second is A-frame signs, which are quite a challenge for staff when we work with business owners, because I think there's several points of confusion. We treat them differently in the center zone than we do in the town-wide. And as I will show you, the center zone language is not great and it's fairly confusing. And I think it's something that I would not recommend us waiting 18 months to fix. So let me just kind of walk you through what the issues are. Let's talk about A-frame and special event temporary signs. So as I said, our biggest challenge, and I think it's also a challenge for business owners, is that center zone language is pretty unclear, and that the town-wide language is different. So I'm gonna start the presentation by telling you what the town-wide language says, because it's not confusing. I mean, you can quibble with whether we're giving enough opportunity for businesses to have temporary signs or not, but you can't quibble that they're not clear. So outside of center zone, we allow businesses to have temporary signs. They can be an A-frame sign, they can be a yard sign, they can be a banner. And those temporary signs that often are announcing sales or special events or those kinds of things, those are permitted outside of center zone 4 times per year. And those 4 times can be a period of 14 days each. So fairly clear. But the center zone is more confusing because the center zone defines almost each and every type of temporary sign. It talks about political signs, and it talks about real estate signs, and it talks about A-frame signs. It talks about signs on behalf of the town. And an A-frame sign in center zone requires a permit. The confusing part of the A-frame sign, which is used by and relied upon by dozens and dozens of business owners. So I circle E because that's the most important part. The white stuff, the white framing is right out of the center zone. But what's most important is the time that we allow for property owners or business owners to allow it. And in the center zone, it says any A-frame sign displayed more than 7 days total each year shall require approval from the zoning commission. So we really read that to mean that property owners can only have an A-frame sign up for 7 days.
Right.
Now that's limiting.
Yep.
And pretty self-limiting, quite frankly. And I would also say that it seems to suggest that if you want more than 7 days, we can come to the zoning commission for approval without limitation. So I mean, I don't know whether that means you can have it as a permanent, but certainly in my 4 years here, and looking back in the files, it doesn't appear that any business has ever come to the zoning commission under this requirement or under this section. So that's a challenge, right?
That's the problem.
So let me add to the confusion is that center zone also allows what we call special event signs. Again, that language is right out of the code in center zone. And it says that we allow signs indicating special events, such as fairs and carnivals and other things. But for businesses, the language is grand opening, sale, or similar non-permanent activity. And that it can be a 32 square foot sign, and that the sign can be up for a period not to exceed 30 days. It doesn't really say how many 30-day periods or what happens after the 30 days. And, again, think about the business owner, but selfishly, think about how staff has to interpret these things. It's not entirely clear. So does it mean 30 days at once or 30 days per year? Or can you have one up for 30 days, remove it for one, and then start a second 30-day period? Well, we got to do a little bit better. And I think the business owners need a little bit better understanding of how we deal with that. Oh, and not to even be more confusing, you can use the A-frame sign for a special event sign.
Yeah.
All right, so I say all those things, and at the end, I'll make a recommendation of how we maybe should address this. So the open signs or open devices, which I also think is interesting. So we've had some complaints from individual citizens that we shouldn't have LED open signs or neon signs. Well, I'm here to tell you that we found at least 24 open/neon signs in the community, and I think there's probably at least another dozen or more than that of businesses. So they are signs that have been used by businesses, are used by businesses, and it's not just under my administration. And I mean, there are neon signs that have been up. Some are some are legally non-conforming grandfathered, some aren't. They are internally lit. They the more modern ones are LED, individual bulb bubbles. So we've had recent questions about whether they're allowed or not, and our position has been is that they are de minimis, and they are not signs as they don't provide a commercial message, and there's no permit required. Now, I need to know how the commission feels about that.
George, I'm
because-
curious, before you make your conclusion, if I may just ask, sorry to interrupt, real quick. The letter that we have received from that same person previously, are they referring specifically to those signs?
Yes,
That's one of them, yeah.
Thank you.
among other complaints, that was
Okay.
one, yes. All right, so, how do we go about thinking about this? Is it a sign? I'm not expecting you to read the definition of a sign. So interestingly, center zone has no definitions. So we have to rely on the townwide for this. So I mean, a sign is broad, and I think you can define the open device as a sign, or you can choose not to. Staff has chosen not to, and I think previous staffs before me have, based upon the preponderance of open signs that are around town. And again, they are, 1 to 2 square feet in size, that are usually on at night, indicating that a business is open or closed. And again, and I think that, the concern is that we don't allow this neon and never have, although I would again say that there's neon. We've had Budweiser signs in bars in in this town for decades and decades. The ATM the drive-through at Webster Bank is in neon. So it's more complicated than just saying, enforce every neon sign in town. And that's why I bring it to you, because you helped me get through these major issues. Really. So, a sign, our definition says a sign is any device that brings attention to a business. That's what it says. That's why I say you can draw a conclusion that it's one or the other. So I do this for discussion, and there's lots of folks here tonight, even though we don't usually have public input, but and some of these folks I've met with previously, and I think it's important to say that staff really wants to find a solution, because it's a headache. It's a headache for us, it's a headache for businesses. And to kind of find some reasonable, conclusion to this. But, the A-frame sign, I think is easier because we don't have to make an interpretation, right? We allow them. I think we should fix the center code today. I don't think we should wait the time, and I think we should do it, through a process that staff would embrace, and we would work with the business owners and folks in the community and the design review board, to come up with good options for you. Maybe it's as simple as saying, why don't we just use the townwide reg?
That's what I would.
Right, I mean, so that,
Pretty simple.
so it could be very simple like that. You still have to do a little process to get there, and allow for input from the community and the business owners and all those kinds of things. So the open devices are, I guess, just as simple, which is staff's gonna continue, if we have zoning commission support really, to not classify that device as a sign and allow them without a permit and allow them throughout the community. If you object, we're gonna have to enforce that. We're gonna have to enforce that with at least 36 business owners. And I think you need to be aware of that. We are not unwilling to enforce it.
The prior administration did really, object to that as well, and there is plenty of other
It
signage.
doesn't appear that they got too many of them removed though.
I think they did, and then they've been since put back, as you know, so.
So I mean, it's a question of direction, Again, like I say, we're happy to do it. I'm just telling you, we've taken the position that they're not signs. And I think it's important for me to tell you that that's the position we've taken.
Open devices, I mean, what's different? So it's LED, it's not particularly bright. Is it different than a barber shop having the swirly thing, and that's also an open device, right?
I'm not quite sure that's permitted either.
It's not.
Right, exactly. So what are we doing here? Like,
Well, that's.
every sign, every business in the world has a sign that says open or closed. If it happens to be neon, I mean, there's plenty of places that have small. I don't think we're talking about like a Hollywood sign here. I think we're talking about a small open sign.
What stops them from
And I'm
having
not,
a huge sign?
I'm not sympathetic.
It could be a slippery slope though.
So the alternative to that
Yeah.
would be to amend your ordinance to just include specific language, with parameters around those things. So you could say it can only be 1 square foot. It can.
I thought neon wasn't, I thought that was already in our sign regs, that it's not allowed.
You're
Yes
saying
or
that
not.
If you define it as a
If
sign.
it's a sign,
Okay.
which at this time is
Just,
not being.
we don't have a townwide ordinance that says
I'm
no
missing
neon.
something, George. What is it? It's a message board if it's not a sign?
I thought having something in the
open
window
device.
was a sign.
No, not necessarily.
You only can have a certain amount of window covered.
So that's different, so window coverage, there is a window coverage requirement, yes, that's true, that's kind of separate under window requirement, so.
I'm not particularly sympathetic to the idea that having a neon open sign is detrimental to the community's character either.
Well, don't call it a sign if you don't think it's a sign.
I agree. Well, I think
Well, that's why I
no,
called it
think
a
it's an
device
open
in this
device.
presentation.
Yeah.
And remember, it's staff, so remember what staff's job is, and that, if somebody says, is this neon thing a sign? I can say yes or no. That's what our job is. Our job is to interpret the sign regulations to say that. We have said it is not.
Well, here's a question, is the flag that says open or closed, that's outside of business, that's not counted against their
It is not.
sign?
It is not.
Yeah, see, I go
Now, if
back
it had the
to-
name of the business and then open, then it would.
Right, but
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, see, I think about, when I first got on the board, Kevin Gray was very involved, and he was with the Historical Society, and the sign was his big bugaboo, like that was his thing. We do not have lit signs, we do not have, and it's because of the character of the community. I tend to still follow that. I think, the neon to me is not in keeping with the character of our community. I would treat it as a sign, I'm sorry, George.
If a business wants to let us know they're open at night, can they just have a light on in their window? Let people know, hey.
It's interesting, could there be a new symbol for being open or closed?
if you're
I mean, just simple being lit, and say, if you see the lights in the window, they're open. Is that sufficient?
It's complicated.
I'm imagining like the Cracker Barrel pub without its little open sign, or I'm imagining a barber shop without its swirly whirly. I don't understand where the idea that this is somehow detrimental to character. One, the entire downtown looks like it's out of the 1970s. They had neon back then too. I mean, I just don't. Is our town character colonial? I don't see it. These are businesses. They need to be able to determine that they are open, and I don't see anything detrimental to a character of an old pre-industrial town having a neon sign.
Well, it's also
you
preservation,
don't.
Tucker.
Yeah,
Sure.
we get it, you don't.
And again, I'm not even saying neon signs. I'm saying a neon open device, right? I would actually be against a neon large sign. Look at us, whatever. But this is just says open.
Again, so neon is obviously not, I mean,
Right.
we have read it to be clear that if it was a permanent sign for, Bob's Auto Supply and it's backed by neon, then it's not permitted
Right.
because it is.
Is it a sign if it's a cardboard sign that says open and there's a light shining on it? Compare, so
So there's
it's more
plenty of
subtle.
iterations that we're
than
challenged by.
neon.
Welcome
I
to
mean-
my job.
So I feel as it's splitting hairs. It's the business community is gonna come out and say, now I have to learn law in order to put something that would be allowed basically anywhere.
No, that's.
Or you could just say consistently, we don't allow neon in the town, and that includes your open sign.
George, a question, how is this enforced now? Is it,
It's not.
do you go out and
It's not.
look for?
I'm telling you that I
violations,
don't, so
Or you wait for complaints?
we operate on a complaint-driven
Complaints,
basis.
okay.
Yeah, we are absolutely not proactive. No, that is not how to enforce things in this town.
Okay, so how are you recommending procedurally how we approach this? Do you
Well, but you know what your options are. I mean, say that again?
you wanna develop a proposal for us to consider?
Or is this,
No, no.
No?
He wants guidance
No,
from us.
I think I got guidance on the A-frame. I think that's clear. I suspect that you're supportive of that, right? And so we'll work through that process on the A-frame
The
stuff.
question is, do we count these as open devices, which is a legally distinct thing?
If there was
It's not
consensus
enforced.
on this board that said, George, you're wrong. These are, these neon things that really are signs, you need to go out and enforce them.
well, George, let me
And then it
ask
would-
you, I know we don't have a public hearing for this particular thing, but we do obviously
Today we
have a
don't.
lot of business
Yeah.
members who are here. Can you give us a general idea of where you think they fall?
Oh, I'm not speaking for the local businesses.
All right.
That would be not a good idea for me.
Well, could you tell me?
I know that signs are very important to business owners.
Do you feel that more people are asking in favor of having a?
Well, as is always, the folks who complain, when there are complaints, they're usually against.
That's just the nature of it.
In the nature of the,
Yeah.
in the nature.
No one's bothering to write you and be like,
No,
I was just driving through town, I loved the neon signs, and I just wanted to let you know.
I'm trying not to make light of it. Again,
No,
I'm trying not to
sorry.
make light of it because,
Sorry.
we'll enforce what we need to enforce.
Sure.
If that's the issue, we will enforce it.
So
full stop.
if this is not a public hearing on the subject, can we have one in the future?
Sure.
I mean, what, are we trying to make a decision here tonight?
No, I was hoping I could have a chat with you about it.
Well, we'd love the
I don't
chat.
know.
It's just, okay, then, but were we also trying to decide on the differences between the center zone and the townwide zone?
No, not necessarily. Again, I thought I would bring it to your attention that we have received lots of complaints, not lots of complaints, that's
So
not true
there are
either.
people who don't like neon
Yeah, there are.
signs.
Yeah.
That's the
There are.
bottom line.
Given that, what's the next step?
I think that it would be, I think it's unfair for the business community that already has to deal with a significant amount of regulation.
Right.
Much of which I support, but to already deal with a lot of regulation, if we can at least consider these to be open devices and then later schedule a public hearing to maybe get more public input
Or you
on it.
can call them open devices now and then have the conversation, and just deal with the conversation as part of the townwide update.
I think that'd be a perfectly reasonable thing to do, and then, instead, rather than start, sending the police to their business tomorrow to take all these down, I think that's just, we're gonna change these signs anyway, I don't have any. We're gonna change some of these regs anyway, I would be in favor of classifying these as open devices until such a time as we decide
We
otherwise.
just do nothing,
So-
and then, if we're just gonna do nothing,
Yeah,
and then.
I was, so the point of this was, if there was some broad consensus either way, then I'd have clear direction. And if there's not broad consensus either way, we can continue to talk about it and talk about what the options are and invite the business community to come and, do a roundtable or provide public comments to you on it. I think that's a good idea.
Yes,
I agree.
let's do that.
Okay,
I agree.
that's what we'll do. We'll put it on an agenda and invite public comment on
Thank you.
on the nature of, temporary business signs.
So,
Well, and neon.
In that category, of course.
so the question back on the A-frame signs, there's one rule that said 4 times a year, 14 days.
Yes.
Where does that apply?
So remember, we've got,
Is that townwide?
think about we got two zoning regulations, right? We've got one zoning regulation for the center zones, for downtown, right here. And we have one for the rest of town,
So which one is this?
for the rest of town.
Rest of town, okay, so, but the center zone is unclear.
Right, that's where you have the 7 days or the 30 days and no real guidance on how many times a year you can have it.
So, but say the Historic Society, for instance, wants to advertise some event. So they go and have to get a permit first from the town to say, I want
Well,
a
it depends
permit.
what kind of sign it is. Depends.
What kind of sign, like if they're
Sal?
advertising an event.
Well, you wanna go through this again? I don't sure you
No,
want.
maybe this is
I
what
don't
would
think
be
we wanna
good to
talk about the
discuss
Historic
with the
Society on this
business.
particular
No,
issue.
No, but in other words, there, or any group that, has a place where they're gonna have an event, in front of Eno
Yeah.
Hall.
Yeah, so special event signs we don't require a permit for a special event. And it can be up for 30 days.
But there was still confusion, okay.
But I don't know how many times a year. I guess if it's a lot of different special events. So that language we need, that's the point. So A-frames is a special event sign, that's easy, we should work on a process that clarifies that. And I think it starts with, getting some input from the public, particularly
Yes.
business owners.
But since we're going to review all of our entire townwide regulations, should we address it then?
So
Signage is in that.
staff would say this. Staff would say, I can't wait 2 years without fixing some of these problems.
Okay,
That's what I would say, as your planning director. I
okay,
can't wait.
Okay.
so then
But
our
I don't think
option-
some of the
Businesses
businesses
can't
can't wait.
either, right? They need some direction
We don't-
from
right.
us too, so.
Right.
Yep.
So we're just gonna regroup.
Yeah.
With
No, I got
with-
clear
we're gonna
guidance,
get
we'll
more
do it,
information.
we're gonna get into the holidays here, so.
Right.
With input.
Sort of like we did, and I hesitate to say this like the,
I know what you're saying.
we talked with some of the businesses and, got some
Don't say
feedback. I know, I
Say
said,
it,
I
Diane.
mumbled it, but
I was
the
gonna say
idea.
food trucks, we did it with food trucks.
Sorry.
To varying success, I would say.
To varying
I think we have
success,
one more
yes.
thing on the agenda, Mr. Chair.
Are we wrapped up with this one?
I don't have, I think, I don't, you know, I didn't even want to.
Solution this evening, Mr. Chair.
Well, I think, you know, you have to bear in mind that, for instance, the things that I heard one guideline that applies in the center zone. And I just want to remind folks that we didn't make that up. Consultants brought that to us from Texas. Now, you know, you could say that we have consultants coming, but to presume that we're gonna get outstanding actionable items on everything we're concerned about is probably a little bit more than is really gonna happen, but
Agreed.
I wish everybody good luck.
It's,
Thanks, Bruce.
it's not perfect. It's not a perfect process.
Right.
All right, I would defer to the Vice Chairman, Mr. Bratz.
Special presentation.
I have done.
So we have two of our commissioners retiring, so we wanted to take a minute to recognize them for their great work on behalf of the zoning commission in the town of Simsbury over the last many years. First is Diane Madigan. Diane has been on the zoning commission for 6 years. Diane has been a wonderful colleague, very friendly and welcoming. Even though we're from different parties, we usually vote the same way, which I think speaks to the collegiality of the commission as a whole. And Diane, we're gonna miss you and best wishes. I believe this is this.
I think it's this one.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you so much, Diane.
Sorry, Diane.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And we also wanted to recognize our chair, who is retiring after 18 years of service, Bruce Elliott. Bruce has a long history of public service dating back to the 1960s, Bruce, when you joined the Army. And here we are nearly 60 years later, and Bruce is still active volunteer. Bruce has been, I've worked closely with Bruce over the last several years. He's been wonderful chairman, a good friend. He's the hardest working commissioner on this board, probably the hardest working commissioner in town. So Bruce is gonna leave some big shoes to be filled. Bruce, we're gonna miss you, and we wish you well in your retirement. Best.
Tony, open that up for me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to open it. My bad.
Nah, just a little, it's just a little engine order.
Really?
Oh, nice.
Sorry, Bruce.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you, that's very nice.
No, that's it, I got nothing else.
No, I just want to, I can't let the moment pass without a few comments, and I mean a few. Actually, as I said to a couple of our commissioners, tonight was just like so many other nights when I'm getting ready for a zoning meeting, and I set aside time during the day before, over the weekend, in the afternoon, the time from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and I'm never ready when I come down and come in that door, because at 7 o'clock, it's time to go, and I didn't get it all done. So today I had in mind to create a few comments, and it started to get to be more than a few, and I thought, I'm not gonna do that. But I want to recognize some people that contributed to, you know, the 13 years that I've been here. And I think we've done, and particularly the last couple of years, there's been a lot of progress in the areas that the zoning commission is engaged in on behalf of the citizens of Simsbury. And it's partly because this is a team effort. It's not just the zoning commission, and believe me, it's not just me. But we have a wonderful planning commission. As I mentioned earlier, they do the POCD and a lot of other things. But we have our engineering department. Well, I could go through all of the town departments. It's just a super environment to be, you know, trying to move forward with everybody, you know, looking in the same direction. But we have an outstanding staff, and having been here for a long time, I can't comment on everyone who ever worked here or got elected to office here, but this is the group that I've been engaged with has been outstanding, and I've enjoyed the time with them. And whether they're new or they've been around here, I was thinking about the center code that was approved in 2011. I'm not sure there's anybody left here who was active in 2011, but you know, I heard the presentations, I voted on it, and, you know, I look back on it, and some of it's not, where I'm not particularly excited about these days, but and the staff that we have with us, I think, I've said this to him personally, that I think George is the strongest planning director that we've had in my experience, in terms of he knows his work and he knows how to go about it, and he's supportive of a process and not just sort of an edict and, you know, other strategies for communicating. He's very good and I think a great asset for the town. So George, kudos to you for the progress that we've made. And the support George gets from Brittany and the other people on the staff, it's excellent. And I would hope that it'll continue. I don't, you know, I think the challenges are mounting, whether it's our signage issues or the huge project with the review and revision of our zoning regulations. It's been sort of widely known for some time that we needed to make that investment, and the money's become available now, and we're at it. But I can't stop without saying, recognizing my wife, who's here for her first zoning meeting in the I've reminded her any number of times over the years, you can watch these meetings on SCTV, so for those that are interested.
And I'm sure she watches all of them, right?
Yes.
Right?
Well, I had called her to come and look at a couple of them. We had some excitement in it, but again, I appreciate the support of my colleagues and you know, the effort that we've made together. Oh, and I have to also recognize, I mean, I'm here because of the nominating committee on the Democratic Party. I have enjoyed the confidence of the nominating committee and the voters. I'm here not representing myself, but trying to do the work of the voters. And for somebody who has grown up in Simsbury, my family moved here the year I was born, which was 1948. So yeah, it was a long time ago. But I was elsewhere when I was in the Army, but this is it. I've been here, you know, since 1948. So I've seen a lot of changes, and I don't want to contradict my colleague Tucker, but I do I prefer the low neon lighting levels, and the not there. But I understand that. And sometimes when we're kind of conversing about what do we have in mind for Simsbury, we need to think about some of the communities that we know of. Some of the places like, well, it might be a stretch, but Martha's Vineyard, you know, some of the ambiance things that contribute that environment. And some of it's what do they do with advertising? What do they do with signage? There are towns around Connecticut who limit this stuff for a purpose. And I think, you know, we all have the same goal in mind, which is to improve, you know, the town and the business community support. And we can't have everybody going in different directions. There has to be some framework. I'm sure there's one out there that will fit us. So, you know, I appreciate the work of everybody that's helped along the way. And part of that now, these days, I don't know if everybody knows Melissa Osborne, who's in the back row back there. Melissa's our state representative from the town of Simsbury. We're one of only 2 towns that has their own representative. We're so important. Melissa only has Simsbury to focus on, so that's why she does such a great job. But also, yeah. She does. But Wendy's here today too, and part of the money that I mentioned with you know, our revamp of the zoning regulations, a lot of that is about the money, and the Board of Selectmen has been supportive of that, and the Finance Committee, Board of Finance, we have gotten in there, and there's a lot of money involved, and we're appreciative. And I think that I'm very hopeful the residents will see the difference a few years down the road that this investment will make. And I'm looking forward to the day when people really see something when they look at our website, the town of Simsbury. If you live in some other community and you're thinking about Simsbury, there you can see very exciting array of information and attractions in Simsbury. And I'd say the same thing to business owners who are thinking maybe Simsbury would be a fit for them. So the things that we're investing in are important, and I'm very supportive and expect that everything will continue, even though I won't be here. I'll be home with Susan.
Watching us on us.
Will you come
Watching us on
Watching. Or come to monthly meetings, come to be in the audience.
Right. Well, believe me, if I have something to share, you'll hear from me. Don't call me. No. That's all I wanted to say. So thank you for coming out tonight, and I appreciate the support and good wishes. So.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SCM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings, and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SCM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions, and it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SCM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth, and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
your schools,
and your government come together.